Hey guys, welcome to the RC.
The show's not about regular consistency because we haven't posted in 9 months. I got in your shot. I am so sorry.
I don't care.
This is the new show where we talk about random things. We're doing it as a podcast. If you're watching on Spotify, thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single episode. Rachel, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing, Connor?
I am super tired.
I feel that.
You would think that being able to stay inside all day means you'd be less tired, but turns out our mothers were correct when they say you need to go outside or you're going to be more tired.
Yeah. I swear I have to just stand outside, on the patio for a good 10 minutes every day and just absorb the sunlight.
It sounded like you were getting punished for a second. It's sometimes I just need to go, just stand out, sit in the corner, face the wall, think about my actions.
Sometimes I probably should. I don't, but I probably should. I should think about my actions.
We really are. Rachel, what are you drinking today?
I'm drinking chocolate milk.
That's the official sponsor, Big Chocolate.
I'm an adult, and I drink chocolate milk.
What do you think is the, I feel like college students are in this weird in-between spot where we're supposed to, you're supposed to act like a child, but also act like an adult, but you're a child, but you have the responsibilities of an adult, but we don't trust you like an adult. What's up with that?
I actually don't know. I've always seen it just as, you're supposed to act like an adult because you're responsible, but you can do kid stuff, and, people are just okay.
I feel like people look down on you.
They judge you. They definitely judge you, but they're not you can't, drink chocolate milk because you're an adult now.
If college students built a pillow fort.
I feel like it would depend on the context. If I just casually built a pillow fort, they'd be like, why are you doing this?
As opposed to formal
but
pillow
if,
fort?
if I did it with, a group of friends to watch a movie on, a Friday night, I feel like they'd just be like, oh, look, they're trying to keep their youth and innocence. So I feel like it depends kind of, why you're doing it. If I just do it because I'm bored, they might be like, yeah, you need a hobby. You need to, do something other than build pillow forts.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I didn't say there was. I think I do. I would do it with my girlfriends.
But other people do, I feel like.
Some people I feel like are a little too pressured to, be what they think an adult is, which is very much just, work, responsibilities,
taxes,
structure. But I think that it's really fun to sometimes be an adult and do a non-typical adult thing, because I think that it makes being an adult more manageable, because it's a break. I think everybody needs a break sometimes.
Can I go really deep with this? Super deep philosophical with this?
I mean, you're the philosophy guy, not me.
So, Christ said, be like a child. However,
Yes.
People often oppose childlike tendencies. Now, my theory is that when Christ said that, obviously he meant be like a child, sense of wonder, awe, all that kind of stuff you often lose as an adult.
Yeah.
But oftentimes when people talk about being childish, they still refer to those things, but they treat it like a bad thing. If I was saying, if I went to the zoo and I saw a penguin, which I adore penguins. They're the greatest animal in all of recorded history. If I saw a penguin, other than man and Americans, if I saw a penguin and I was like, oh my gosh, look, it's a penguin, people would be like, wow, why are you being such a little kid? And I'm 22.
Yeah.
So Christ said, be childlike, enjoy a sense of awe and wonder, think critically, and always ask questions, stuff like that. But then when an adult does it, it's in the same vein, people are taking those attributes and saying it's bad. What's up with that?
I think it depends on the on the interpretation of it. So obviously if you are being the negative version of a child, so distracted that a squirrel passing by distracts you, that would be frustrating. I feel like I would get frustrated if you had your face on the glass of the penguins, oh my goodness, look at the penguins. I'd just be really confused, because I'm okay, social etiquette tells me not to smash my face into the glass at a zoo museum.
Also pain.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Social etiquette would tell me that I should and should not do XYZ. And we teach it to kids too. We teach them, don't touch the glass, don't, stick your finger up your nose, don't do this, don't do that. And those are things that might have that idea of wonder and awe and innocence and trust and all that stuff, but because it somehow goes against a social etiquette that we've established, that's when they deem, the idea is okay, but the action isn't, because the action goes against some social etiquette that we've set up. But we've got I feel like the world, especially like here in the United States, we have a lot of social etiquette demands that become contradicted by what we say is the mentality of Americans. So we might say, like, oh yeah, like, be free and do whatever you want to do. But then it's like...
Be responsible.
Be responsible. Be an adult.
Don't get that job.
Make sure you go to 4 years of college. Make sure you don't do freelance. Like, there's all these social norms that they say, like, America's the land of the free. Do whatever you want. Follow your dreams. But then, like, let's say your dream is to...
Run a pig farm.
Or to open a bakery. People might be like, oh, that's not very responsible. You should become a lawyer or a doctor or whatever. You know, like...
9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
Stable income.
There are people who are like, yeah, you shouldn't be a freelance wedding photographer or whatever. But then they're like...
You make so much money doing that, though.
True.
That's a lot of money.
True. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, everyone's like, oh, yeah, you can't be an artist, but, like, you need to follow your dreams. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, my dream maybe is to become a street performer. Maybe I want to perform, you know, shows on the street or whatever. Or
become a gypsy.
Or in a park. Or, sure. But people will be like, oh, well, that's not a legitimate thing. I'm like, well, you just told me to follow my dreams. Well, your dream should be to be a doctor. I'm like, okay, well, like, do you want my shaky hands cutting into your stomach, Karen? I didn't think so.
But we are kind of told, like, from being a child, like, from TV shows, they're saying, like, follow your dreams, and then as soon as you get to junior year of high school and you need to start looking at colleges, like, yeah, your dreams are cool, but only if they're profitable and can make money. Do you think, and this is, I don't want to get into, like, well, this is the appeal of communism, that anyone can, the communist system is that anyone can follow their dreams. But do you think that there's some sort of weird divide where people constantly tell children, follow your dreams, follow your dreams, follow your dreams, but don't follow your dreams when you become 17 and you need to figure out what you're doing for the majority of your life?
I think so. I think, because, like...
Where is that? Let me rephrase. Where is that divide, and what's up with that?
I think the divide comes from you can follow your dreams, but only if it's something that you can be self-sufficient doing. So, like... It's almost like you can have a dream whatever you want to do, follow your dreams, do what you love, be passionate about what you do. But if what you do doesn't allow you to live in the middle class, comfort, common lifestyle, then you shouldn't do it because it's prohibiting you from basic human comforts, I guess. So it's like, don't follow your dream if it means you have to live in a small studio apartment with 3 other women, you know, all paying $300 a month, and you're eating ramen for the rest of your life.
But what's wrong with that? Why is that such a problem? Like, especially today, you can make a living off of doing you start a podcast for Care Bears, you can still make a ton of money. Like, whatever your dream is, especially with, like, social media and how that's actually starting to become a relevant thing. Like, people are starting to realize that you can make a lot of money just being, like, an influencer, ambassador, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I mean, look at TikTok.
Exactly. Like you can dance in front of TikTok and have millions upon millions of people following you, so you can make a job doing anything. So why is there still that stigma?
I don't know. I think it's just, again, it's the norm. It's what we've always had. I mean, it's just like people kind of, there's still a taboo around, like, not having a college degree or getting it online or doing, like, a trade school or a community college. Like, that's fairly norm. And a lot of people switch majors. A lot of people drop out of school. But there's still this taboo that, like, if you want to be successful, you got to be going to school and you got to finish college and you got to get your 4-year degree in something, and then you can follow your dream, because at that point you have backup plans, you have something to fall back on. And then yet at the same time you hear people, like, who make things like Apple, you know, and, like, they don't have college degrees, or they were dropouts, or they did it in their parents' garage, and it's like, that's the dream, that's the goal. And it's like, okay, maybe living with your parents shouldn't be the goal, but at the same time there is this thing where it's like, you either have to do that and become wildly successful, or you have to get your college degree and become wildly successful. But there are people who don't get degrees, who are middle class, perfectly happy. And there are people who got college degrees and
have a mansion.
And then there are people who got college degrees who are living, you know, in a tiny apartment with a bunch of roommates, and they're not going anywhere right now.
Yeah.
I don't think, unfortunately, I think that a lot of people have kind of like this set expectation of what your college experience and what your life after high school is supposed to be and what your adult life is supposed to be like. Mm-hmm. And there isn't a lot of opening for the fact that everyone's kind of just a little bit different, and everyone's kind of just going to do their own thing.
So do you think it's a caveat then? It's follow your dreams if they are successful and can generate a consistent means of income?
I mean, I think people want to encourage people to follow their dreams, whether they're like ideally successful or not. But especially for parents, I've noticed in particular, like I talk to my parents about this all the time. They want me to follow my dreams. They want me to be successful, but they also want me to be okay. They want me to be comfortable. They want me to have good things. They want me to be able to do the things that I enjoy. They want me to be able to start a family. They have my best interest at heart, even if that doesn't mean being able to follow my dreams. It doesn't mean they don't want me to, but it means that they want me to do it, but they also want me to do this other thing. And if those two things are kind of at conflict, I think a lot of people have a hard time rubbing it, especially parents. They have a hard time being like, okay, I want you to follow your dreams, but I also want you to be comfortable and financially well off and happy and, in a good relationship or having a family or, having money so you can pay off your student loans and not being in amounts of debt and not
be
living.
successful. At the end of the day, it's about being successful.
It's about being, they want you to be happy. And unfortunately, I think the measure of happy is comfort nowadays, and comfort comes from having money. And oftentimes your dream, at least in the short term, keeps you from having money. In the long term, I think it usually actually does mean having money. But usually in the short term, it means you're usually kind of tight on money. And obviously parents don't want you to be in that situation.
So I don't remember the exact number, so I don't want to be corrected. But I know it's above 85% of people don't get a job in the field that they got a college degree in. That's why like a communications degree, even though it's kind of, or like the whole liberal arts concept of like, oh, it'll prepare you to think and it'll prepare you to do a job anywhere. Like, and more business majors, people in business would rather hire an English major than a business major because they have essential skills. So I think it's interesting that as long as you have a skill or that you have a passion that you want to talk about or that you want to display for people to entertain, then you can make a living off of anything. Like I said, like if you run a Care Bears podcast, I guarantee hundreds of thousands of people will listen. Okay, tens of thousands of people will listen to it, but that could be just enough to have a Patreon that keeps you going with enough to live and put into savings, pay off your loans, and then be able to raise a family with.
And like people are
it'll
professional
take 6-7 years though.
Like people are professional YouTubers or just like Instagram influencers, and they have these massive houses, and it's like
waste of money.
I know in my first job I'm not gonna be making that much money.
Please.
And I would like to,
yeah.
But like it's shocking how much money these people can make off of just being on social media, which then begs the question of, is social media more significant than a college degree, or is being on things like social media? Because like I hear nowadays that like for actors especially, if you want to get cast in something, you have to have an active social media.
100%.
Because they'll look at it because they want the actors to promote it just as much as whatever studio or company is producing it.
So this got me thinking, I don't think it's so much the fact about having a social media, although that's honestly a huge part. I think it's looking at someone and being able to say they communicate and they have passion. Because I think those are the two things. If you start that Care Bears podcast, or your Care Bears is a weird expression. If you start a podcast about peanut butter, and you genuinely have passion.
You gotta really love peanut butter.
People would though. Like they're like, you think about it like, for example, I love using this analogy, like on Reddit, like you see like some weird subreddits that have 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 people. It's like any sort of thing now, especially on the internet, people with random interest. Like there are subreddits about screws. Like literal, like hex screws have their own subreddit, and people are like, man, look at this hex screws, and it's just people sharing, and each post has like thousands of likes. So if you want to start anything, as long as you have passion and you have like some sort of commitment and you drive for it, you can do anything that you want. Okay, let me rephrase that. You can do, if you have a passion for something and you can promote it and you can actually be passionate about it and talk about it consistently, provide entertainment, your dreams can happen. It will take probably 6 or 7 years to do that. It won't be an immediate, getting a job. But once you get that, you get to talk about peanut butter your whole life.
So what I'm hearing is, if I have a passion for murder, I should become a murder mystery writer and not a murderer.
That's a whole separate conversation. I don't know where you got that, but your point is still correct. Do not become a murderer. The RC does not endorse murder. We are not sponsored by Big Murder. By Big Knife. That was the worst joke I've ever made in my life. I was trying to be like Big Pharma, but I said Big Knife, and then it got like a cleaver.
And then we both just stopped.
If you laugh, you have to legally like this video.
If you are foolish enough to laugh at that, you have to like this.
I apologize. I am so
Quality
sorry.
content, ladies and gentlemen.
Super quality. Yeah,
content.
at the end of the day, I think if you have a drive for something and you want to do it, follow your dreams. Now, you may need to get a job on the side to be able to like pay for the rent, but who cares if you're living with 4 other people? If you can go outside, shoot your podcast once a week, and then you can grow that to a point where you have a mansion. Whoop-de-doo. Even if you never have a mansion, if you have a nice 3-bedroom house and you can afford a dog,
Aww.
boom, you got a nice life.
What's better, cats or dogs?
Cats.
Good
I've never had a
answer.
cat, but a dog is too much like me that I get competitive with a dog.
Is that true that guys... Question. Is it... Because I actually think I've heard it where it's actually reverse of what people think. So everyone's like, oh, girls are like cats and boys are like dogs. But when you think about it, guys just want to sit around the house all day doing nothing but napping. And girls are like, feed me, give me attention, feed me, feed me, feed me.
I don't know where the concept that like cats are all female and dogs are all boys
Well,
came
personalities. Like guys are like dogs and girls are
from. I
like
don't
cats.
know, man. I think everybody has such different like identities, especially today when
Yeah.
like there's a million different names for identities now of what you want to be. That like everybody's different.
There's two. You can identify as something completely original and new, but don't get me started on that. There's two. You're a boy or you're a girl. You're loved no matter how you feel, but how you feel is not the only identifier, unfortunally.
This got really weird
Yeah,
really
it got really
fast.
weird. Let's
We'll
talk about something
that in a
else.
different episode.
Let's-
Well, we
do you know what we
spiked
should
really
talk
back
about?
there. I'm so sorry. What should we
You know
talk
what we
about?
should talk about?
What? After I'll talk about employment opportunities and dreaming?
Let's get real. Let's talk about something real here. Let's talk about
no.
Baby Yoda.
What?
Let's talk
my
about
hat?
Baby Yoda. Where'd you get your hat, Connor?
I got it at Disney with you when I took you to Disney for your birthday.
I love Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda, please sponsor us. Big Disney.
Please.
Big Disney sponsor.
Big
They'll never
Disney.
sponsor this.
But imagine
Why'd
how
you
great
take
it
it
would
off?
be. Because my hair.
Okay.
But I...
Do you actually have a conversation?
Yeah,
or do
I
you
actually
want
do
to...
have a question
Okay.
about Baby Yoda.
I thought you just wanted to show the hat off.
So, a little bit. It's a question about Baby Yoda. So I, obviously, like, Mandalorian, massive thing. This big, big thing. Like, I would almost say it's bigger than the movies.
Yes.
Like, it was more popular than the movies.
Yes.
Do you think that Disney has somehow cracked the algorithm for TV shows? Like, despite the fact that they have 9, 10, 12 how many movies do they have? They have
The original 9.
The original
the
3.
Skywalker Saga is 9, and then they have Solo, and then they have Rogue One. So technically 11.
11. There are 11 movies.
But then there's also like spin-off. Like there's a bunch of TV movies from back in the 80s. But
Oh
we're not
yeah,
gonna
the
count those.
old TV. We're not gonna count those because we're
Holiday
talking
special.
about the main core. The main core, because Disney seems to be their movies all seem to be highly contested. You either hate it or you love it, and like there's always these like two sides that are like, episode 9 was horrible and episode 9 was fantastic.
It was awful.
I loved it. So I'm.
Episode 8 is the best movie in the entire Skywalker Saga.
Then you're not allowed to have an opinion because episode
I'm
8
aware.
was
I'm aware.
respectively
Hey, we just proved your
not
point.
the greatest. But like, there's the point. Like, the movies are so highly contested, but I have not heard anyone say, like, other than like trolls, I haven't heard anyone say like anything really bad about Mandalorian. Like, for the most part, everyone was like, and Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Like, these are not highly contested TV shows. Like, they are just like, you know, you like it. You might not love it, but for the most part, people like don't have, other than like certain plot points or whatever. But
Yeah.
like these shows are not contested to the level that like people are like boycotting the movies. But I don't hear about people like boycotting the shows.
I think it's just because there's more, honestly. Like, for example, there are sections of Clone Wars that I can some of the new stuff is not incredible. There are some ways that I think it could have been done better in some of the recent episodes that a lot of people are complaining about. And there are some episodes in Clone Wars that aren't great. They're okay. I didn't want to see 4 episodes of Mace Windu and Jar Jar Binks. Sorry, I didn't care.
But does anyone want to see 4 episodes of Jar Jar Binks?
Some of the Jar Jar episodes are decent, but the overall show as a whole is good, whereas with a movie, it's like 1 episode, and it's either going to be great or it's going to be bad. So, for example, if you ask somebody like, hey, this episode of... let's stay with Star Wars. This episode of The Mandalorian, was it good or was it bad? Some people will be like, oh, that episode was boring. It dragged on. It really didn't contribute anything. Some people will be like, I liked it. I think it was a good interior look. I think it's just because movie and... this gets to a really deeper conversation, if I may.
Sure.
Star Wars movies and TV for so long have been considered super different, right? Like a movie is this big, masterful, powerful thing, but some TV shows now have the budget of a movie. Each episode has the budget of a movie. Like,
yeah, that's true.
The last Game of Thrones seasons, I don't care. I haven't seen this most of the stuff, so like I don't know, but their budgets were incredible.
Like you see
their
the
set
commercials
pieces were huge. They had the budget for per episode of some movies, and so now the difference between a movie and a TV show is no longer a TV show is going to be smaller budget and a movie is going to be bigger budget.
Yeah.
You can start off a TV show like Mandalorian where they had incredible set pieces that were built with a 360 video projector screen with a video game engine that they can move the background with the like that's huge. And so video games and movies now are becoming one medium. It's all becoming about the storytelling at its core. And I think this is what's so important and why we're getting a lot of really good cinema now in both TV and movies, because people are realizing at the end of the day, you know, this is a writer and you preach this all the time, the only important thing is the story. So it's not about like, wow, look at this incredibly flashy thing. Marvel things often do well because they have a good story. That's why if people contest them, it's because people thought I didn't like the story or I did like the story. It's never about like, well, I didn't really like the fact that it was just tinted blue too much. No one's going to say that. Yeah. It's about story.
Well, the film students will say that.
Obviously. And they'll be like, was this shot in an Alexa versus a red?
We have too much free time to critique films.
And they'll complain about like, oh, this Wipeout. Okay, I do have to say though, the beginning of Captain Marvel, way too dark. They really shouldn't have brightened it up like maybe 3 ISO, but regardless. Like, but perfect example, Captain Marvel. Some people thought it was incredible. Some people hated it. But their reasoning is all for... I think it was okay. It wasn't incredible. It was good.
I'm a strong feminist.
But
so
why did you like it?
But
why did you like it?
I loved it because it was... Well, particularly Captain Marvel. I liked it because you slowly revealed things as the story went on. So I liked that her mentor ended up being the villain. I love twist endings, obnoxiously. But I loved it throughout because it's just this really strong, like, kick butt, powerful female character who's just trying to prove herself through consistently, and she's consistently proving herself, but everyone keeps telling her it's not enough. And I loved the acting. Like, Brie Larson she committed herself to the character and the character's journey, even if it would change in Infinity War and Endgame. You know, things change as they always do.
It was just her haircut.
But I love how much she committed to that character and how it just the journey that we got to see Danvers go on, and I love the superpowers. I love magic kind of powers like that. That's definitely my forte.
But someone could take everything that you just said and say I didn't, and that's why I didn't like. And I think
but then
that's what's interesting is it's you like the story or you didn't like the story.
Well, and I'm a strong feminist, so I love the idea of just this really strong, powerful female character who doesn't need a romantic love interest, who doesn't need a guy, okay, well, Samuel L. Jackson is hilarious in that movie, but, like, throughout it, she's the one who's saving the day. She's the one who's fighting off the bad guys. She's the one who's saving everybody. And it's not for herself. And I think, did I like it because it was a female superhero and I'm kind of sick of seeing all guy superheroes? Yeah, like, I love Batman as much as the next person. Like, Dark Knight, great movie. But the reason it was great for me was because of the story. It wasn't because, like, the characters. Like, I think it works in books too, but, like, in movies especially, you fall in love with the character, not with the special effects. As cool, like, Transformers. Transformers has some awesome special effects, but that is the lamest, most boring, non-existent story. I'm Michael Bay. Figure yourself out, buddy. Figure out what you're doing, because I don't think you know what a story is. My beautiful Professor Chris Riley says, a story is a hero's struggle against an obstacle to reach a goal. We get that nailed into us like every class. Michael Bay you need to figure out what a story is, and you need to make a story. I love the CGI as much as the next person, but I need a story, because otherwise you just can't follow the movie. Otherwise, the movie is just explosions, 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 and there's no fulfillment at the end. There's no good feeling. Like, there's no good or bad feeling. Some movies end really happy, some movies don't. But there's no feeling it. Like, you leave the movie, you're like, all right, well, that just happened.
Popcorn movie.
Yeah, it's a popcorn movie.
But going back to what you were saying, like, there you are strong. You're a more of a modern feminist, not like a neo-feminist. You're more of a classical feminist.
Yeah, like 1920s feminist.
Yes, you are not a neo-modern neoliberal feminist who is like, oh, women are better than men. Men need to just burn. Oh, it's just one. Blah, 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 blah. I just offended a lot of people. I'm now on Antifa's hit list. Great.
It's okay. I balance them out by being highly feminist.
But there are also feminists, like female empowerment movies that you did not like, that you've seen.
Yes, there have been several. And it's funny because as I'm a strongly independent woman, like, I don't like when a guy says that he needs to do something. I love when a guy wants to pretend like he's a little prince and, like, hold a door open every once in a while or whatever. But, like, growing up, I was like, nope, I can open my own door. I don't need a guy to do this for me.
What's a female empowerment movie you don't like?
Oh, goodness. I can only think about the ones I really, really like right now. Probably because I've been watching a lot of really good movies recently.
We have been. But there are some.
There are
right?
some. There's some where they just that new show, Mrs. America. Have you seen that show?
Isn't it is it Mrs. America or Miss Americana? It's something like that.
Mrs. America.
It's on Hulu every time we log in to watch Chopped.
It's every time. I've watched one episode. I did watch one episode.
How was it?
So it's beautifully acted, very beautiful costuming,
How's the
very
story?
good story. It's a good story.
Really?
But it references kind of this mentality of, like, how do you balance feminism in where it's not so and then also, like, because some of these women are very not feminist, you know, they think, oh, well, they don't agree with my version of feminism. My version of feminism is a woman just, she needs to have a choice if she wants to work or not. It's totally fine if you want to be a stay-at-home mom. That can be a feminist. You can be a feminist and be a stay-at-home mom.
Heck yeah.
You can be a feminist and just take, and, like, you know, but you can also be a feminist while working in a film industry. You can be a feminist by, you know, maybe you're single your whole life. You're a feminist. You can get married at the age of 23 and still be a feminist. Like, feminist doesn't decide.
Classical feminist, not modern feminist. I want to reiterate that again.
Not all of us are walking around without clothes on going, free the mama, okay?
Thank you for censoring yourself.
I do not want to free the mama, okay? I do not. It is uncomfortable.
Free the murmur.
It is uncomfortable. I do not want to do that. But I'm fine of, like, whatever. People are going to do what they're going to do.
Going back to movies.
Nothing I say is going to do that. But movies nowadays are like, yeah, I like really strong feminist movies. So, like, I like Captain Marvel. I loved Rogue One. Because I thought
I totally just bumped
that
into my mic.
I'm
so sorry. I was about to, because you brought up a really interesting point. You thought you mentioned a movie.
Yes.
And then you also mentioned a show. And this gets back to what we were talking about, is that movies and shows are no longer distinguishable.
No, they
separate. Are the same. Okay, let me rephrase. Consumers see movies and television. Okay, not even television, because it's not even long form and short form mediums. The hour and a half to the hour to 3 hour story to the 45 minutes
movies
to an hour
versus
story.
Television. It's still a thing. I mean, you know, you.
But they consider them. They don't. There isn't so much of a divide anymore. Because I asked you what are some female empowerment movies, and you mentioned a show.
Yeah, well, because I couldn't think of any movies. I haven't watched, like, there are movies like Battle of the Sexes that I looked at and I was like,
Isn't that a comedy movie from, like, the early 90s?
No, there's a new one with the lady, with the girl who was in Rogue One. She plays some judge or some chick, some lawyer or judge, and it's supposed to be the strong, like, there is the Battle of the Sexes, which is the tennis movie. That was made about a decade ago, I think.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyways, there's all these ones. There's all of these, like, basically where it's like, Battle of the Sexes, like, men versus women. And it's like, no, that's not really what feminism is about. Feminism is about showcasing the power of women. Like, no offense, guys, but in feminism, we don't really care about you. We care about us. We want to talk about how great women are. We don't really care if men are great or not. We want to talk about how great women are.
But you can tell that story in... I love how this went from a conversation of how Star Wars cracked the code to feminism!
Feminism!
But I to respond to the question that you asked, I think that there has kind of been a code that's been cracked of, hey, film and television for a consumer, are you telling a good story? That's why I think like Star Trek has lasted so long.
Yeah, and
because
so
they've
many
been telling
different
stories.
So many different series.
Exactly, because how many series are there? 7 or 8?
There's let's see, I can go through.
Depends on how many you don't want to
Discovery.
acknowledge.
That's I only saw the first season. I didn't really like the first season, but I'm going to go back.
Start.
So there's
wait,
original
can I try?
series.
Can I do it? I'm
I
a
know
new
more
fan.
than you.
I'm gonna see if I can do it.
He's
I'm a new fan. I'm a baby.
I got him. So he had only seen original series.
So original
I've
series.
seen all of them. I'm a diehard fan. Grew up on it with my dad.
All right, let's see if I can do it. Ready?
Yeah.
Original series. Next Gen. Deep Space Nine. Voyager. Is Orville one?
Orville is not technically Star Trek, but it's funny. So I'll let it include.
And then Discovery.
You already missed so many.
See, but that's the thing. They've been lasting for so long.
So
because of that,
I can actually go off.
Let me finish this point.
Okay.
Because of that, Star Trek and now Star Wars and a lot of other IPs are starting to crack the code that no one cares if it's in theaters or on their couch. More people would prefer it to be on their couch.
Probably prefer it on the couch.
So let's tell stories that are easily accessible, that we can tell in a longer frame, that we can get people more emotionally involved in the characters, which is why you like writing television. Let's get people super invested in that. And I think a lot of companies are starting to realize, other than like the stupidity that was the concept that was Quibi of like the 10-minute shows, which is the dumbest
Quibi
concept of all time. You had $17 billion of funding and you couldn't even make something that has more like... Stop.
He's just upset because he's sick of seeing the commercials for Quibi.
It shouldn't be
There's
that
so
hard.
many.
It's a
so
simple concept. Anyways, movies and television, Disney is finally starting to realize that, other companies are starting to realize that no matter what you do, tell a good story and you will win at the end of the day.
Well, and not only just that, like for me, it's like Mandalorian, I don't think would have worked as a movie.
No.
It would have been way too short. You wouldn't have gotten to meet all the characters. You would have just moved through everything too fast. And there's
you would
so
have
many,
only had an hour
there's
and a
so
half
many
of Baby
characters.
Yoda.
That would have been sad. But
travesty.
I mean, when you think about it, like there's so many characters in like the first half of the season of the first season of Mandalorian. It's like you meet new people every episode, and they only last an episode, and then a couple of them come back at the end. But I think it's so interesting because in a movie, so many of those characters would have been cut out because it wouldn't have made sense to have them on for 30 seconds. You know, it wouldn't have made sense to have this cool female bounty hunter get killed because she's trying to kill him over Baby Yoda.
I forgot entirely about that subplot.
She's my favorite because she was the original voice of Mulan. But
Really?
yeah.
We're talking about the chick who gets stuck in the desert?
Yeah.
Scene?
Yeah, if you've seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I can't look up the actress' name right now. She plays
She was
Agent
the original
May.
wait, she was the voice?
She was the voice of Mulan. Not the singing voice, the speaking voice of Mulan. Because she was at the Mulan premiere, which is why I know.
Yeah, in Mandalorian, like, it was so purposeful and it was so intensely, like, a story that you wanted to follow. You don't even know the main character's name.
No, it's just the Mandalorian.
And you were engrossed from episode 1. Not you, like, the viewer was engrossed from episode 1 because it was a story. I think that's what Disney needs to focus on. I think that's what they're going to focus on with their new Marvel stuff. I think a Hawkeye show is a great concept.
Well, you just get so much.
Shows are the way to go.
You just get so much more information in a show than in a movie. I think a movie, the hard part, especially when you're writing it, like you cut out so much.
You have to.
By the end of it, there's always all those like deleted scenes and deleted cuts. And if you look at the script, there's always scenes that were cut before they even started filming. Yeah. And you just don't get to know the characters. Like in Mandalorian, there's all these characters that you wouldn't have met if you hadn't watched it as a TV show.
Yeah.
If you only got to see it as a movie, you'd maybe get like...
Well, if you hadn't seen Clone Wars, you wouldn't know that Darth Maul has died twice now. You would think he still died in Phantom Menace.
Keep him dead, okay?
He is dead now from Rebels. Sorry, we're
Oh yeah, and then there's Rebels too. That's right. There's a whole nother.
Rebels started off so bad, and they redeemed themselves so well.
Did they?
They did. It was actually it started to do really well.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't? We need to watch it.
No, I don't want to.
We should end this and watch it. Well, did you
so
find the Mulan
many...
girl's name?
Yeah. So Ming Na Wen.
Yes, that's it.
I can never pronounce it right.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. original voice for
Yeah, she was
Mulan.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. original voice of Mulan. She was awesome. She would have maybe gotten like not even 5 minutes if it was a movie. And that's so not fair because first, she's probably very expensive. Second off, like it's a really interesting character. And I think in a television show you actually get to really know the characters, and like we got to know the Mandalorian. Like you knew exactly what he was going to do, and you could tell, like even though everything that happened was a surprise, you knew what that character was going to do. And Also, if we had a movie, we would not have so much footage of Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda is the most magical thing to ever grace television.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, TV is really where it's going to be, especially creating a world. I think that's really what it's about, is creating a world that people can go and they can go to the movie and see it, or they can sit on their couch and watch it.
And you can watch it again and again.
And again and again and again.
And it's so long
we
that,
should
like,
rewatch Mandalorian.
when we binge, like, because binging is a whole thing now, you know, like, everyone binge watches TV.
I'm a hardcore binge watcher.
Like, I have binge watched almost all of the Star Wars television shows except Discovery. Star Trek.
There you go.
I'm tired. All of the Star Trek shows.
Someone just had a heart attack.
My dad just had a heart attack. It's okay.
Sorry,
I had a heart
Workman.
attack too, when I realized it. But no, like, I've seen almost all of them, and then I've watched them again. Like, I convinced you to watch the Next Gen series, and
I just had a realization.
I've seen Next Gen, I think, maybe like 3 or 4 times now, and I can still go back and watch it, and it's a new experience every time.
That's what it is, though, is that I made a list of every Star Trek Next Gen episode that I liked and everyone that I didn't like. Mm-hmm. Overall, I enjoyed it, and I think that's the difference, is that
even
a movie,
though there were episodes that you really didn't like.
Luxana Troy. Any Ferengi.
Any of the Ferengi.
All the Star Trek nerds like, yeah, I got you. All the non-Star Trek nerds like,
what's a Ferengi? Look up what a Ferengi is. You don't tell me that those things look
They're
like,
goblin trolls.
Like, they're goblin.
They're business-minded goblin
they're
trolls.
Space business goblin trolls.
They're also supposed to erase a stereotype for the Jews.
Oh. Well then.
Yeah, I found that out the other day. But if you're doing a show, there's a lot of area that you can do a much better. Like, some of the episodes, I would never watch again. I would never force an enemy to watch it.
He'll skip them if we watch the show
I will literally
again.
skip them because they make me mad. But overall, as a show, I think the show is good. Whereas a movie, you can't be like, the human brain is incapable of being like, yeah, I like this scene, I didn't like this scene, but overall it's good. Since it's one coherent story, it's either was it good or was it bad. In television, the story, it's one long story into so many different parts, whereas in a movie, those are the different beats, right?
Yeah.
It's either going to be good or bad. With a show,
well,
the
because
overall
you
show
can get over
good or
you can get over one bad episode in a mix of 10 or a dozen or whatever.
Yep.
Because it seems so minuscule compared to all the really good ones. But one beat can be ruined by another beat in a movie if it's just, or one scene can be ruined by another scene. Like, you could go back to back scenes, and if they just don't sit right, an amazing scene could be totally ruined because the scene before or after it just kills.
And there's only
whatever
2 ways
happened.
that you can do that in show: is screw up a reboot, or a continuation of a show when it goes too long. The Office, Community, Parks and Rec, some people argue, or a really bad final episode, Lost.
If you mess up your final episode, you lost an opportunity.
Yeah.
Lost.
I haven't seen it, but I haven't
seen the show either. I think that's really interesting, actually. That, like, also, I think it's really interesting to hear the impression of people. Like, there are a lot of shows that he's watched that I haven't watched, but because I've heard things about them, I feel like you can go in with a
expectation.
Yeah, you can go with an expectation, and then it totally can ruin the show for you. I tried to watch Reign, totally my level. Like, I love history.
What show is this?
Reign. So it's about Mary Queen of Scots.
Oh, gotcha.
And I
thought you said Reign, like...
No, Reign. Reign.
I know what you're talking about now.
I love history, and I love Mary Queen of Scots. I really want to see the movie. I haven't gotten to see it yet. But one person told me that, like, whatever, like, 2 of the middle seasons, or the middle season or whatever, is, like, awful because this. So they told me what happened. I already know the story of Mary Queen of Scots, so I wasn't that bothered by it.
You can't spoil history.
I can't. You can't spoil history, especially if it's like for me and I already know the story.
But then we went in to watch Iron Lady.
I can't watch it anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to get it. I'm gonna try again, but it's like it's hard when you go in with this expectation. Like, I went initially super excited, and then someone told me something really bad about it, and I wasn't able to enjoy stuff that I'd originally enjoyed.
Yeah.
When I started it, because it was just kind of like, oh, well, that's kind of, I was just really disappointed, and I think that that's really hard. But I think that can happen in both movies and TV.
Yeah, like Iron Lady was critically acclaimed, and we tried watching it.
Oh.
And it was probably the worst film I've ever seen, and it has
and
Meryl
I love
Streep.
Meryl Streep.
And
do you know what I would love to see?
they have editing where she's talking and her mouth isn't moving.
It's concerning.
If you want a movie to watch and laugh at,
It's the end.
Which is sad.
It's painful. It's kind of painful to watch.
Margaret Thatcher, right?
Margaret Thatcher.
Margaret Thatcher's like getting like dementia and stuff, but it's hilarious because of how poorly it's edited
awkward.
and written and directed.
Actually.
It cuts out all the good parts of who she was.
Comment below what you think of this.
Interesting, not good.
But I would love to see Meryl Streep as the
Blessed Virgin.
No, I'm gonna say as Mother Teresa. I know. I feel like that's gonna be a really unpopular opinion. Comment below what you think.
That's gonna bring us to the question of the day, which is which actress would you cast as a modern retelling, not a biopic, a modern retelling of Mother Teresa?
We don't want to well, it's kind of a biopic.
Well, okay, let me rephrase. A biopic, not a documentary.
Yeah, it's not a documentary. It'd be a movie. But I saw that movie Letters with my mom. My mom loves Mother Teresa.
Incredible film.
It was such a good movie. But
so
I would
good.
love to see
Big budget?
More big budget movies like that. Oh my goodness, I had someone suggest like this idea of a movie for Joan of Arc. Comment below who you would cast as Joan of Arc, because I love Joan of Arc. She is one of my favorite saints.
Do it based off the Mark Twain book, even. Then you can get all the literary nerds in.
Well, and I want to hear people would think about how would you make a movie like, you think of movies that were big budget that are Christian movies, not Fireproof, not
Passion of the Christ 2, which is happening officially.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Passion of the Christ 2 Electric Boogaloo coming to
but
theaters
stop with
near
the
you.
Electric Boogaloo.
It's a bit.
No.
I could do
vetoing the Electric
I could do
Boogaloo.
Passion of the Christ 2 Dreams Come True, like the old Cinderella.
You're banished from speaking now.
Then I guess the podcast's over, ladies and gentlemen.
He's been muted.
I guess podcast's over. We have been going for 49 minutes.
We have been going for 49 minutes, but that's okay. I think that it's interesting when you look at it because there's movies like The Passion of Christ and what are some other ones that were really good? Letters isn't a massive budget.
Builder
but it was
Bridges, the JP2 film.
Oh, that's right, that one.
So
I haven't seen all of that one, but I really liked it. The stuff that I did see.
Padre Pio movie, or the recent Patrick movie is supposed to be incredible.
Exactly. There's all of these movies, and there's so much potential. I would rather go see a movie about the life of a saint, like an interesting, like action-y kind of movie, like Joan of Arc. Like, imagine my action sequences. Imagine that would feel like a Marvel movie.
It would be Game of Thrones.
But it's not. It's a saint movie, and it's so much better than like Fireproof.
I do want to say
or God's. Don't get me started on God's Not Dead.
We're not talking about that.
I don't like those movies.
We're stopping the podcast here. We can't talk about this anymore. I do want to say, I apologize for just saying that a Joan of Arc movie would be like Game of Thrones. To everyone, I meant the style. I don't mean we should have a...
No. We will not have incest in my Joan of Arc movie. But I want to know what people would think about. Like, do you think that movies like a movie about Joan of Arc could be big budget, big Hollywood movies and keep their Catholic identity, because there's so much in Hollywood that it's not so much like anti-Catholic, but it's like we can't offend anybody. We gotta do it. That makes the most people happy. And I think that it'd be more interesting to have a movie that challenges people, that makes people leave the theater and go, well, what do I think about the fact that, that she went into battle? She killed people.
Well,
she's a Catholic. She killed people.
What's more empowering than a French woman running through France, stabbing people in big battles? See, she went up a ladder. She got shot. They pulled her down. They said, we're retreating. She said no, rips out the arrow herself and goes back into the fight. You want to talk about female empowerment? Give me a Joan of Arc movie.
Joan of Arc. So we're petitioning for a Joan of Arc movie.
We've decided right here.
But that's where we'll end it. So awesome. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to our beautiful podcast.
I'm sorry we're so rambly, but that's kind of what the RC is.
That's what we're going to be from now on. So kind of what we're going to be doing is just stuff like this, where we talk about just various things. We ramble on, whether it's Catholic or non-Catholic, film, business, social media.
Culture. Politics.
Not
politics.
We're not going to talk about politics, because I hate politics. But we're going to talk about just anything and everything. We'd love, obviously, to answer questions from you guys. Once we get going a little bit more, we'll do questions that we pull from you guys where we'll answer them, whether it's about us personally, about our opinions on stuff, whatever. Or if it's a topic that you want to hear, a lot about, something that is very a Catholic idea. You want to know what people who are young, like what young people are doing, because we're trying to live as Catholics in a world that is totally normal. We're just normal people. We're just doing normal things. We're watching stuff. We're
real Catholics, which is also what RC stands for.
It is real Catholics, Rachel and Connor, all these things. But we wanna talk to you guys. We love having conversations with you guys. So feel free to comment if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this on Spotify, feel free to follow us. We have a couple of different social medias, so you can follow us on Instagram at _RC_Catholics.
And from there, you can find our personal ones.
You can follow us on our personal ones. You can find those there. You can comment on the YouTube channel, like and subscribe if you would like to. We'd love to interact with you guys. We really, really want to interact with you guys.
And we will answer any question. I promise.
We will.
We are bored.
Send
will
us
answer
anything.
literally any question.
It's quarantine, so we have too much free time. Way too much free time.
So
but we
you
would
guys.
like to dedicate our free time to you. Yeah.
No.
Yes.
I have other things to do.
Like what? What are you doing right
I
now?
run Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate all of this. Rachel, sign us off.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming in, and as always,
Keep it real.
real.